Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to today's live panel webinar. I'm your host, Erin Martin, the VP of Marketing here at Netsertive, and I'm very excited to be joined by a powerhouse group of marketers for our discussion today on some of the latest in franchise digital marketing trends. I saw each of these ladies on a panel at the IFA in Phoenix last month, and so I'm excited to have them back together to share their experiences and knowledge with us. So I like to just kick it off by doing a quick round robin of introductions, starting with you, Brandy, to kick us off.
Great. Thanks, Erin. Hi, everyone. I'm Brandy Klustra. I'm the VP of Digital Marketing at Franworth. Franworth is a franchisor that has 7 different franchise brands. And what we do is we come alongside the brand and help to really build, incubate, and grow the brands and get them set up for franchising. So I work with our digital marketers to really just help them establish their digital presence, digital footprint, and SEO, PPC, social media, etc.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. And then Janae.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janae Verhulst. I'm the Digital Marketing Director at the Lash Lounge. I oversee all of the paid efforts and then all of our website and SEO efforts as well. So working really closely with our franchise owners to ensure that they've got a good paid presence and then also show up organically as well.
Awesome. And Danielle to round us out.
Great. Thank you. I'm Danielle Euthys. I'm the Director of Franchise Development Marketing for Empower Brands. And we have 10 brands. A lot of them are in home services. We also have a handful that are in incubation. And so we're doing that route as well. But I'm on the lead generation side for franchise development. So thank you for having us.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, for joining. And today we're going to have a fast and furious webinar for you guys, probably around 30 minutes with some Q&A, where we're going to touch on the latest trends that you need to be aware of, and then dive into how our panelists think or have tackled some of these items. And so quick reminder, you will get a recording and the slides after, along with some cliff notes of everything we talked about. And then if you have any questions, feel free to ping them in the chat and we'll get through them as we can in the conversation or answer them at the end or follow up. So before we jump in, just a quick note about Netsertive. We're a digital marketing partner that uses technology to help marketers take back control of their brand marketing at that local level. So whether it's on the FranDev or franchisee side, we make sure that you have a partner, the workflows and execution to have command and control of your brand. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to hit us up after. So just to set the stage, there's a lot going on in today's digital landscape, and this is just kind of a smattering of some of the top things that are out there that franchise marketers are facing. A few of these we're going to touch on today. So I just wanted to kick it off and kind of lay that foundation to see what you guys think, and curious what you think of the top things that franchise marketers need to be aware of today that are timely and top of mind for you guys. And so Brandy, maybe you could kick it off. Like, what's top of mind for you out of all the things that are out there right now?
Wow. Well, first of all, one stat I heard recently is that marketers, their jobs is 18 times harder. You know, if you look at the MarTech stack that's published on a regular basis for the past 10 years, it is insane how much more complex the digital marketing landscape has gotten. There's so many more marketing vehicles to keep an eye on and you know, work on strategies. But I would say the most important thing when it comes to digital marketing is just making sure your user experience is streamlined, as easy as possible for a customer to book a job, you know, call your studio salon, you know, make a reservation, whatever it might be, as far as your call to action. I think that's number one. And then tracking, you know, making sure that when you put a campaign out there, whether it's on Facebook, any social media, or, you know, your website, make sure you can track it and know where your conversions are coming from. Attribution is so important, so you can really double down on what's working.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so true when there's so many things happening behind the scenes from the marketing side that you need to be aware of exactly how that's impacting that customer journey throughout as well. Yeah, and I know we'll talk a lot more about the tech stack and integrated marketing as well down the line. And so, Janae and Danielle, do you guys have anything to add that's like really top of mind for you guys or impacting any of your campaigns right now to add?
I think Brandy hit it exactly right, where it's like the customer journey is most important, like that customer experience. And I think that sounds like it's really obvious, but when everyone's internal, when they're talking with their internal teams and they're looking at their business goals and we want to sell more of XYZ or whatever, it's easy to forget about that piece because it's working in the background and it's not always the top of mind discussion point where it can get lost a little bit going, well, we have leads coming in, let's try to move on to what our next thing is, when you really need to always go back and re-examine that and look at it. But I also think that the data side is really big right now, and getting everyone's data, data warehouses built and all that kind of thing, especially for franchising, that can be, it's a fun initiative to start, but it can take a really long time to actually take it all the way through the process if needed.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, both what Danielle and Brandy said, super important things. For the Lash Lounge specifically, we were really, and we are really focused on TikTok this year. So hopefully Congress doesn't ban that for us. And then we're also going to be leveraging, some of the UGC content that we are getting from a platform that we'll dive into here in a bit. But so those are some of the two big things that we're focused on.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, diving right into some of the stories and, best practices that you guys have seen. I know, Danielle, you just mentioned data. And so I want to first touch on that rising importance that marketers have on first party data, and people's privacy and security as these third parties depreciate and go away. This stat just shows that 70% of marketers have a plan on how to operate through those changes, but then when it actually comes to specifics and details, there's less so. So it's one of those things where people are like, yes, I know that we need to have a great customer experience and use our own data for better marketing, but then how do you actually make that happen? And so, Danielle, I'm curious if you could kick us off, since you mentioned data and data warehousing. Like, how do you guys think about that at Empower Brands?
Yeah, and I think that the change was supposed to make it more secure, but I think the actual result is it makes everything less secure, because before, if you didn't have the best data, Google still had the data, knew who was coming there, and you could still target your ads and do what you wanted to do. And now everyone has to know all of the data. Before you were like, well, I know that it's a person of this demographic, and now it's like, no, I know this person's email and phone number, so I can leverage that. And now that I know that this person visited my website, I need to retarget to them, text them, and email them. And it is adding to the clutter a little bit. And so there's pros and cons on both sides of that.
Yeah. And Janae, how do you guys think about some of these things at the Lash Lounge?
Yeah, so we've evolved some of our strategies a little bit, to ensure that when someone clicks an ad or gets to our website, we are being transparent with our lead gen tactics. So when they either submit the form and we collect their data, we ensure that, hey, you're going to be hit with this message, and here you can always opt out of it. Because I think that's super important, is you don't want to bombard someone, and you don't want them to get annoyed with you, because that's just a really bad brand experience. So I think that's been really important for us. And then also just educating our owners on like, hey, you need to be mindful of when you are collecting this. If someone opts out, you truly have to opt them out on all of your platforms. And I know that kind of gets tricky when the owners are doing things outside of your view. So it's just kind of an education that we're trying to deploy to them.
And how do you guys handle that? Just via your CRM as the master source of truth for that opt-out?
It's through our point of sale, so MindBody. But then we also just have to ensure that MindBody is talking to Marketing Suite, which is our CRM. So in an ideal world, that's all working efficiently, but there's always some hiccups.
Yeah, and I do think that's super important because now it is a big responsibility to collect data. Like you have to have the processes in place to, abide by all the new regulations, and you need to be very thoughtful about what you're collecting instead of just collecting
Yep.
everything and you got a mess. So,
Yep.
and I don't know, Brandy, how about on your end with your brands?
Yeah, so we're in so many different industries, whether it's fitness, beauty, home services, F&B. So I definitely have seen this managed very differently across all the brands. With F&B, it's more about the loyalty programs, right? And getting people to come back and making sure that you have a solid loyalty program in place that captures your customers' information and then allows you to back market to them and tell them, when there's a limited time offer and, how they can redeem more points. So that's, gold now is your brand loyalty, and those loyalty programs are even more important in the F&B space. I would say when it comes to, what are you doing to collect the information? There's so much now that you can do outside of just, fill out this form and we'll add you to our database and let you know when specials arrive, etc. There's things like you can do QR codes and send people to a landing page to enter to win a sweepstakes. That's a way to collect data and then, excuse me, have a list to market to in the future, as well as like if you're entering a new market, that's a way to drum up new business for local stores to just start to capture information by offering some sort of sweepstakes. So I've seen that work really well. It's just thinking outside of the traditional box of collecting first party data. And then I think the thing that I've seen where marketers might go wrong in regards to collecting first party data is not using it, not utilizing it to, reach out via email and tell your existing customers, here's what promotion we're running, or reminding them that you exist even, or doing the back marketing components like Danielle mentioned. There's also things like geofencing that I keep saying and preaching, it's underutilized. You can be very targeted and, find that right customer, that past customer through geofencing and lookalike audiences. So there's a lot that you can do with first party data that I think marketers aren't necessarily thinking about because they're concerned about the cookies going away, but you just got to get creative in a different way. So.
Yeah.
I think that's so key though, is that doing the segmentation, it's hard. I mean, it's work. To come up with different creative and different messaging and to coordinate it all, to do that, it is extra effort, but it is worth the effort to go through that process. But it's also hard to make sure that you're putting the right people into the right segment. So that's a really good point, which again, that's been around for a long time. It's not brand new, but it's really key, but you can get caught up in focusing on other things and miss on that piece.
Yeah, which I think goes back to, Brandy, what you were saying in terms of putting yourself in the consumer shoes and like, what is the right next step or offer, or, personalized approach for that, which I love everything that you were saying in terms of the, rewards program and all that, because it leads exactly into this slide where people are willing to give their information when they get value. Like they want to be, sent things that are personalized for them for offers and recommendations. So there is that balance of, you don't want to be creepy, obviously, you don't want things following you around the internet, but there's a way to do it that is personal and authentic to build that brand. And I'm curious, Janae, how you guys think about this at Lash Lounge as well.
Yeah, this is something that we've been really focused on in the past year and a half. Is so for each of our franchise locations, when they have a ton of questions about digital marketing and where they should be targeting or how they should be utilizing these lists. So with all of our partners, we provide them with big exports of all of our lead and membership data. So that kind of goes back to Brandy talking about like creating that remarketing and lookalike audience. So that's one huge way to ensure that our conversion rates are going up and we're getting it for the most efficient spend. And then we also take those lists and we put it onto a mapping system. So there's a lot of cool tools out there. Placer AI is a really big one. We don't use them currently, but I know Brandy is super familiar with them too. It gets real creepy on where you can track and what you can see from like your location compared to, the competitor across the street. But a very cost efficient tool is called Batch Geo. So we put all of our member data or member locations into this tool, and it charts it on a map for us. So that when a franchise owner, is like, hey, where should I be targeting? Or what about this zip code? We're like, hey, actually, your clientele comes in from this. So let's try to keep it within this 5 to 10 mile radius to ensure, the amount that they do have going to their digital marketing is efficient and they're not wasting a ton of money on zip codes 20 plus miles away just because they want to target everything. So that's one thing, just the remarketing lookalike audiences, and then also just getting super drilled down into their targeting.
Yeah, and I know even on the Fran Dev side, you can do lookalike audiences on LinkedIn as well. I know that's always a big debate of like, does LinkedIn work? Does it not, for Fran Dev efforts? And a great first step that I've seen is like use a lookalike audience to see, match up your ideal candidates. Like, do those profile attributes live on LinkedIn? You can just do a match and see how many exist there before you do any effort. So do some research stuff. So I'm curious, Danielle, on your end, like how you guys think about this. I mean, there's very one-on-one relationship on the Fran Dev side. So how do you guys think about that personalized approach for them?
Yeah, I mean, Fran Dev is so personalized. I mean, we're having individual conversations with every candidate. They're speaking with the brand presidents and the franchise developers. And so it's personalized in a different way. But we try to, we personalize through the content depending on what stage they're at in the process. But we do also utilize the data and do the lookalike audiences in, Facebook, wherever we can do a lookalike audience. We do a lot of that, especially people that have progressed all the way through the process, more so than just leads that come in. So yeah, we do as much of that as we can. There's also some other AI tools that you can throw on the website that will show you who's visiting the website, and that's the same thing. It's like it gets to a level of detail that I think people don't necessarily know as consumers.
Yeah, yep. And before we transition from this topic, I just want to ask one more question to the group to see if there's anything that you think marketers, like where do marketers get this wrong? Like where do you see people trip up, or you've maybe tripped up in your career when it comes to kind of thinking about how you personalize or localize data to infuse that into marketing?
I think not using it is probably the biggest thing, but it is off-putting when you get something as a consumer that says, hi, I know that you're a whatever, and they make a reference to something that you're not in that demographic. It's very, I think that is off-putting, but I think it's worse to not use it at all than to try it and then get it wrong.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've definitely gotten some marketing where it will use my company title from some previous company's past, or whatever it may be, and you're like, you missed the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So the next up that we have to talk about is using user-generated content and influencer marketing and developing that personal relationship. And I know, Janae, this is something that you had mentioned being focused on at the Lash Lounge. So I'll probably kick it to you first to share a little bit about how you guys think about or are using it.
Yeah, so we would previously, prior to 2024, we would we would reach out to any of the micro influencers that would tag us and would go to one of our Lash Lounge locations. However, this year we've expanded to a partnership or working with an agency called Mini Social. So they actually go out and source all the micro influencers for you, and just beware, they are, some of them are very micro influencers. But they will go out, they'll record what, you provide them with a script of what you want them to record, what you want them to buy. So for us, we had them go get a full set of lash extensions, record their experience, and then upload it to the mini social platform. Mini social, gives that back to us, helps us edit it, and then we're able to take all of that content and repurpose it into both organic and paid. So that's been really helpful for us because we don't have a vast team. So this has been a really cost efficient way to get a lot of content that we're also able to repurpose. So that's been really important to us. And then we've also just kicked off another another, not test, but like an ancillary campaign with them. So going to get a lash lift or something other than lash extensions so that we can repurpose that as well. So ideally, then we can put this onto our TikTok, which our franchise owners have been asking, why aren't we on there yet? And it's because we didn't have a lot of this content. So hoping to, get that published here in the next few months.
Awesome. And if someone was going to dabble in, or, start checking out influencer marketing, like what tips would you have for a first-time marketer trying to use that type of platform, or things to be aware of that you learn throughout the process?
I would definitely do your research. I know we've had some partnerships in the past. It was hard to track them down, or it was hard to get them to do the service on the time that we wanted. So if you have the budget and you're looking to do something like this, it's very cost efficient, this platform. And I know that there's plenty out there. I'm not giving a plug. I'm not getting paid for that shout out, but it has just been really helpful for us because we don't have a big team. So I would just say, I don't know, just doing your research is really big. And then if I know some of our franchise owners, they have individual contracts with the influencers in their markets so that they hold them to a few different like timelines and payments and things like that. So it really varies. And I know that's not a straightforward answer, but just putting together your research is really key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to be representing your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, Brandy, how do you guys use any user-generated content or have dabbled with any influencer marketing?
Yeah, so with Degree Wellness, what Janae just described is very similar to what they use in what they call the brand ambassador program. So, a local influencer will approach them and they'll basically outline, come into our studio, try out our cold plunge or, infrared lights. And from there, Degree Wellness is, they invite them into the salon and then they have a set of deliverables that they expect from them, like a video and a write-up on their social media channel. And then from there, Degree Wellness owns that information. To Janae's point, you have videos now for all your social channels, et cetera. So that's worked out really well. I'll also say they do use what they call a special guest night. And so they have the salon open for 2 extra hours, and that's when they bring the influencers in. And, who doesn't want to feel special and have an invite to a special event where they can bring one person. So that's worked out really well. I will say also, it's for a franchisee that's just looking to do this to generate more business locally. You can go to YouTube and just simply type in what service you are providing, and you will find that person. So example here in the Ann Arbor restaurant space, you can type in Ann Arbor restaurants and you will find all those influencers and who is really, prominent in the space. So I think the research is pretty straightforward. Yes, you want to make sure their content is aligned with your business, but finding those people, the influencers in the local markets, it's pretty, I think, simple if you just go to YouTube.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that you have a hard stop in 5 minutes, so I'm going to transition to the next topic so I can pick your brain before you bounce in something that I am incredibly passionate about. So I'm excited about this one because I'm a strong believer in the fact that if the marketing operations and the system that you build to keep everything running, it can really make or break you. You could have like the best idea or campaign idea, but the devil's in the details when it comes to execution and keeping all the moving parts and pieces aligned when you're dealing with 100 location brand potentially. So I'm curious, Brandy, how you have seen this in your career play out. There's so many different approaches to this. There's that kind of build, buy, or partner. flavors, and then the hybrid of everything in between. So I'm curious what you've seen worked well in the past.
Yeah, this is a loaded one. I could talk about this for hours. And to your point, Aaron, the devil is in the details. But what I found works well, I'll just start there with any franchisor, is that marketing, operations, and IT must be aligned because it all ties together, of course. So, you can have the greatest marketing campaign, but if you don't have operations supporting, answering the phone, talking about that message, selling that promo, it's not going to work. Same with IT. If your POS system doesn't integrate and it doesn't have the ability to track a great marketer's campaign, at the end of the day, at the end of your 3-month test, it's really hard to show success. So what I've found works extremely well, and it's the old, like, there's a delay for long-term relief, and you have to take that extra time up front and document what it is in a project scope that you're going to do, start to finish, including all the stakeholders, IT, your operations team, and just, again, make sure all those dots are connected and everyone knows who's on first. So it's the project scope, outlining things, identifying what is going to be that measure of success after you roll out any campaign or do any sort of investment. So the MarTech stack is no longer just marketing's responsibility. It's everyone within the organization, and specifically operations and IT. So what we've formulated now is a regular meeting of the leadership team in each of those departments to really talk through each of the projects, because of our 7 brands, that is the biggest challenge, is making sure all those dots connect.
Yeah. And I think even at the IFA panel, I remember someone who asked, like, I've got all these problems, like, what do I do? And you were like, you got to have a roadmap. Like, you can't just be playing whack-a-mole with like the biggest problem,
No.
just like, keep whacking the mole down the line to deal with things that are, stuck or painful. It's like, truly bring the parties together and build that roadmap for success, because you can't boil the ocean. You can't do everything this year. I think we think sometimes we could or wish we could, but that's never going to be the case. So just be thoughtful about it.
Agree. Well
awesome.
said.
Well, I know you got to join, so thanks for joining us, and we'll wrap us up here in a few minutes. And Janae,
Yes, thanks,
I know,
everyone.
have a good one. I know on your end, you guys have a pretty awesome, well, I would call it a well-oiled machine on the marketing front. So I don't know what, in terms of how you guys think about, partners, internal, like, how do you guys think about pulling together the marketing system for your brand and what's worked well?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's not an overnight fix, or it's not something that you can build overnight. When I came on board, we really heavily utilized one partner for a lot of our different responsibilities. And so, that is a plus, but then also could be a big minus if, they're not performing well. So we kind of took a look at, hey, where are all of our marketing dollars going to when it comes to technology? Can we centralize any of these platforms, or do we simply need something new? So 2024 has been really big for us, and some of our migrations to a new hosting platform, a new web manager, new digital partners. So it's been a lot, but the entire team, we stay very laser focused. Oh, and we have a new listing platform too. So it's been a lot all in 3 months. But the entire team, we have, like Brainy was saying, roadmaps, project scopes that keep it very organized, so that when we do launch or roll out a new initiative, we know exactly what we're trying to do. And then it sounds so basic, but having those KPIs or, success metrics to that rollout really just holds us accountable as well, to ensure that we see it to fruition. Challenge I will say with that is keeping the franchise owners up to speed on all of these changes. I think anyone that works in franchising know you can say it one time, but you have to say it like 17. So that's kind of something that we're just, dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But it's been very exciting. It's a ton of work. And then, yeah, just echoing Brandy, keeping marketing ops and IT all in the loop together. Even if you don't think that they may be involved, you'll likely need them at some point. So I think that that's just really important too.
Yeah. And how do you think about what the home office controls in terms of the marketing perspective versus franchisees? I know sometimes there's different areas of flexibility provided with franchisees, and like, you know, where the marketing strategy and execution lives. You always want to control strategy, but like, how do you guys think about what level of flexibility or customization you want franchisees to have as part of the marketing playbook?
That's another funny one, because I feel like you could get a lot of different answers, or I could talk about that for a while. In an ideal world, I would like to take, and having worked with Danielle previously, we both worked on a project like this. I would like to take as much digital marketing, or at least some of the marketing aspects, off their plate. When they bought into a franchise, you know, they're not marketers, or most of them are not. 95%. So you want to take that off their plate and leave it to the experts, whether that's in-house or your agency partners. But you want to set them up with, hey, this is the recommended budget. This is the recommended creative. We highly suggest you target in these markets, and help them with that. Unfortunately, you know, not all brands can do it that way. So just, I think, really educating them and showing that you are the like expert in that, and then you have these trustworthy partners that you've vetted pretty thoroughly, so that when the franchisee goes to talk to these partners, you've got like a great playbook set up with, you know, this is the best performing creative, this is where we recommend you spend your dollars, whether that's Google, YouTube, Facebook, etc. I think that is probably what a lot of the franchise brands kind of like try to set up for their owners, so that they're not just going out to rogue agencies and, you know, not having any tracking, or not having a form on a page, or, you know, not being able to book. So just setting them up for success, because they are not marketers. So just, it's a lot of hand holding.
Yeah. Yeah. And I found that a lot of brands that are doing that vision well have a well-structured FDD to support it. Clearly outlines that support that the home office takes with, you know, some flexibility, but, you know, you got to control your marketing. So awesome. And Danielle, on your end, I know you're looking at it from another point of view, you know, a lot of pipeline focus. So how do you guys kind of think about looking at candidates in your pipeline and the back end marketing system?
Yeah, I mean, it's critical, because, you know, you may have someone who came in as a prospect 3 years ago, the funding wasn't right, or the timing wasn't right, or whatever, but they may still be interested. Or maybe even they bought a different brand and now they could still have the bandwidth to come back to the brand. So I don't think it's really like someone that came into the pipeline once, they might still be a relevant, viable candidate, even if it didn't work out at that exact point in time. But you also don't want to, you know, bombard them or overwhelm them as well. So it's kind of like keep the communication open, but don't, you know, overwhelm them or anything like that. And, you know, we've recently been reaching out just with education, and, you know, we do a master class about business ownership and just kind of nurturing that without it being a high pressure kind of tactic. I think it's always a risk in brand dev of the candidate. The prospects are a little bit afraid of being, you know, I am interested in this, but I don't want to be called by a salesperson every 5 seconds. So they're sometimes leery to give in their information. So you have to build the trust and let them know it's okay. We can tell you your funding options. We can tell you who the brand is. You can have a call with the brand president, but we're not going to, you know, chase you down, so to speak. You know, you might, if it was a consumer type thing where if they see the product enough times, then they'll just buy the shoes or whatever. So I know we look at it that way, but the tech stack is always really complicated. I typically am a champion of buying and owning and buying and owning, but sometimes the reality is you can't always do it. Sometimes you don't have the time, the dollars or the deep bench of experience or the bandwidth, with head count or whatever. And so it can be a situation where you go, okay, well, I could do this, but it would take this many dollars, this many months, this many. And so maybe I do it with a partner for a year, and then we can, reevaluate if we build it ourselves. Another critical thing that's more on the franchisee side, but it's, if we sign up with this partner, everyone's excited, everyone wants to go all in, we all want this to be a long-term partnership. In the back of my mind, though, I go, well, what are we going to lose if something doesn't work out? Like, if the franchisees are attached to a personal relationship or a dashboard that's proprietary or some other system or tool, and then something goes south and we need to make a change, is that going to be a nimble change? Can we do that? Or is it going to be, months of communication of why and how, and then rebuilding our own thing to replace that? And that makes it a longer, more complicated process in that point.
Yeah, that's good. Thinking about the change management. And it's almost like when you're onboarding, you want to be thinking about offboarding.
Not that, and that's not
it's
popular, especially with vendors.
Oh
But
yeah, I know you never want to talk
critical
about the end of a relationship, but it's like sometimes, things change. There's so many things that can happen and do happen that you want to build a foundation that's stable. You don't want to build something that you have to like rip and replace every 6 months. Like you're going to be in a hamster wheel.
It's like asking for a
thing.
You got to be kind of careful, but you got to make sure.
Yes, I'm definitely seeing that is a trend with marketers as well. All right, and then to take us home, there was one last topic I had that, Janae, I'll probably pick your brain on, was how to make all of that work with that franchisee support training and education. I know you had mentioned, you feel like you say it a million times, but it needs to be 1,000,001. And so I'm curious what works for you guys in terms of those processes and workflows, in terms of the cadence of education that's needed with franchisees versus just, handling something on their behalf.
Yeah. And I really can't take credit for all of this at the Lash Lounge. We've got someone who's actually on the call, Lauren. She does a ton of our franchisee education and support from, salon opening, even months prior to them opening, all the way past opening. She meets with them, educates them on the importance of both local marketing and digital marketing. She just recently built a franchise university, local marketing university. So we have our franchise owners take this course, and it covers all aspects of marketing. So the very basics of digital, how to do those partnerships in your local market. It's very, very detailed. And so we require our owners to take that. Certainly they're still going to have questions. And so her and I both kind of tag team those as they come in. But really, we have our business coaches, and then we have Lauren, who's basically like a marketing business coach who really supports the owners in every aspect from a marketing, email, print perspective. And then, just the always ongoing franchisee support. They can always reach out to us, reach out to our agency partners and get their questions answered, but really would like to armor them as much as possible with the details so that they feel that they can find it on their own as well.
Yeah, and I love the local marketing university, because that feels like the next evolution of just a marketing playbook that, we put together for franchisees. And with that, I mean, there are LMSs and cool tools where it'll track who's done what. You can see who's completed, the different modules or whatever it is. So you actually then get the data on engagement and what franchisees are engaging and adopting the education. So I'm curious I get this question a lot of any recommendations on learning management systems. I'm curious what LMS you guys use.
Oh gosh.
And if you don't know, that's
what the
okay.
name. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I can put it in the chat. So I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it.
No problem. Or if anyone wants to know, you can let me know afterwards, and I'll let you guys know too, because there's a variety out there. I've looked at them before, and some can be up to 30 grand, which is insane. And then there's others that are more cost effective and just as efficient. So Awesome. All right. Well, thank you ladies again so much. We didn't have any other questions, but if anything comes up, feel free to hit us up. And thanks for all who joined live as well. And hope everyone has a good rest of their day.
Thanks so much for
Awesome.
having us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, Erin.
bye guys.
Bye. Bye.